Good evening, darlings. Tonight I have another anonymous request which says, Dear King Thronduil, what sort of men are you into? Please don't say you're not into men because you mentioned once in one of your early videos that you had a relationship with a mortal man, so please let us know. Darling, I was really hoping that all that would just be in the past where it belongs. It's true there was a mortal, and they were male, who I did have a relationship with, a very brief relationship. I don't think I particularly have sort of a type because I'm not interested in men. It was a moment of weakness, and it was mostly wine induced, we'll just say. So it was a brief thing, it was an impulse, it's out of my system now, it's over. So these things sometimes happen. And so I wouldn't really say I have a type of men I'm into. It was one particular man. So I suppose, talk vaguely about what sort of person he is, because I feel like maybe that's sort of what you're asking for. But keep in mind, darlings, that I'm not interested in men at all. And if you're a man trying to find out what sort of man I'm interested in, then this is not going to work because, of course, I'm not interested in men, darling. I'm just going to keep reiterating that until we all understand, because there's been so many rumors, and they're never about me and anyone who is female. They're always other men, and I'm not sure why that is. But I will talk about this one man in the past. I'll talk about him very briefly, very vaguely, just blanket statements, nothing specific. So, as far as sort of the type of person he was the sort of person who cares about the well-being of the people around him, and sort of thinks of those close to him as family, and treats them as such. And family is very important. It was very important to him. I haven't spoken with him recently, so I can't say, darlings. And a lot of people thought he was sort of a grim sort of person. He did have sort of that more stony quality to him, that sort of dark side. He was skilled in both bow and sword, like myself. What else? He was rather tall for his race, and he wasn't unhandsome, of course. By elvish standards, he was not sort of the ideal or anything like that. But he even by elvish standards was not unattractive. He is dark of feature, dark of hair, very intense eyes, that sort of thing. And sort of a very different person one-on-one than he is sort of out in the public. He does have that sort of public face, private face, and he's a much more private person like myself, which is part of why it worked out very well for us. There was a lot of similarities between himself and myself, and I think that's part of why we got on so well. But there were a few things where I think we were too similar, too different in a way that just made us clash like oil and water, just completely repelling one another. And that's just a little part of why I ended it. Of course, there was also the fact that I really was not sort of pursuing anything serious. I'm not looking to replace my wife, and I still am not ready to really be engaged in another relationship with anyone, not with men, although that's also true. So I don't know if that's what you sort of want or not, darling. but that's just some overall basics about him. So I hope that that answers your question as best as I'm willing to give. And if there's anything else you sort of want to know, by all means, darling, you can ask again, and maybe I'll answer more. But I really just, this is my private life, and as I've mentioned several other times, I really prefer to stay private. Particularly about this, I'm sort of sensitive about this issue. I know, I understand, but it's just not sort of the person that I am, and so it's well, it's a little bit hurtful that it has to keep coming up again and again. You know, you make one mistake in your life, and then you can never ever move past it. So, thank you, darling, for everything, and have a wonderful evening, and ta-ta.